Yeah, thank you. Seriously, thank you for doing this. How does it sound? Yeah, yeah, you play the harp. It's great for two harps.
Though I may speak with bravest fire, and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are something as sounding brass.
Yeah.
Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Society. My name is Kelly Crocker and I'm one of the ministers here. Today I'm joined by my colleague, the Reverend Kelly Asprooth-Jackson, the worship team of Linda Warren, Drew Collins, Stephen Gregorius, and Daniel Carnes. We give a special thanks this morning to Bryan Rainey. Thank you, Bryan, and also to our society choir. Thank you all for being with us. The vision of First Unitarian Society is growing souls, connecting with one another, and embodying our Unitarian Universalist values in our lives, in our community, and in our world. If you're visiting us today, welcome. We're so very glad that you are with us. If you would like more information about our activities and programs, please stop by the welcome table located in the Commons to your right next to the elevator. And if you are not visiting today, because First Unitarian Society is already your spiritual home, we encourage you to find someone at coffee hour who looks new. Maybe someone who's standing alone, maybe they have a sticky name tag and a look on their face that says, "I'm new here." And we encourage you to go and talk with them. Being a community of welcome and belonging is the work of all of us, and we hope that you will join us in welcoming someone today. Our Healthy Congregation team invites you to join them here in the auditorium during coffee hour for a smaller facilitated conversation. If you would prefer to be in a small group of folks for discussion, please meet Anne and Roz back in here after you grab a drink. And for those of you connecting with us virtually today, we're glad that you are with us as well, and we hope that you'll be able to watch the announcement slides after today's service to find out more about our upcoming events. And now I invite you to join me in a moment of silence as we center ourselves and bring ourselves fully into this time, joining together once again in community. Here we are in our circle again.
A circle of vision and reflection.
A forum for deciding and empowering.
Here we are at the base of another bridge, another space spanning the shores of today and tomorrow.
Beckoning us to cross the chasm one day at a time.
Here we are gathered again at the cusp of the future, at the boundary that holds community together.
We are here in a circle of love and trust, brought to this moment by a series of choices and promises, by hope and gratitude, by our own shadows faced and befriended.
With a servant's heart, with a leader's listening, with a parent's love, truer than all our inner trembling, let us model the health we seek for all and lean into community.
Somewhere out there, all we dream is possible.
Somewhere in here, we are sowing the seeds.
And we invite you now to rise in all the ways we do, joining in our words of affirmation as we light our chalice. A chalice lit in our midst is a symbol of our liberal faith, a faith built on the foundation of freedom, reason, and tolerance, a faith sustained by acts of kindness and justice, a faith that visions a world flourishing with equality for all her people, a faith that demands the living out of goodness, a faith that requires thoughtfulness, a faith of wholeness. This tiny flame is the symbol of the spark of all this within each of us.
And now let's sing together our opening hymn, number 6, Just As Long As I Have Breath. We'll do all 3 verses. The second verse we'll all sing a cappella. Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I make my way, still with hope I meet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
Please be seated. Yay! And we invite anyone who'd like to come up closer for our story. Come on up. Hi, good morning.
Howdy.
Hello. Oh, hello, hello. Howdy. How's your week?
Yeah, how's it been?
It's good. Hello. Hi. Hey, Juno. Hi, guys. Hey, Cleo.
On down. There's space in front.
It is great to see you all this morning. Today, we're going to be talking about a little bit later in the service that this weekend marks the beginning of our pledge campaign. So we wanted to ask you all what you thought. What does it mean to make a pledge? Any?
Like the Pledge of Allegiance.
Like the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, Cleo.
It means like to make a promise that you'll do something.
It means to make a promise that you will do something. Exactly. It's a promise.
It's a promise. So, what are some promises that we make to each other? Anything? Yeah? To be good. That's a pretty good one. Not running in the hallways, an important promise to make and to keep.
Very much.
What do you think? Yes.
Not running in the classroom.
Not running in the classrooms either. Okay, not running in the classrooms, not running in the hallways. We could have a whole subsection here about places we shouldn't run. Yes.
Cleo.
Not shouting during service.
Not shouting during the service. Not always a promise we all keep, but we do our best.
We try.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not running in a school.
Not running in the school. Okay.
Yeah. Indy May? You got one?
Inside voices.
Use your inside voices. Nice.
No running in the cafeteria.
No running anywhere. I'm good with that one. How about, do you feel like your parents make promises to you? Are there things that your parents promise to do for you? Yeah. Keep you safe. Cleo? How about make sure you have food?
Sometimes my parents
sometimes.
How is that they'll be home before dinner?
What's happening?
Sometimes
Sometimes, why not?
I starve.
Sometimes I starve. We're going to need to talk after service. So we make all kinds of pledges to each other here, too, in this community. We volunteer to help out. We sing in the choir. Or maybe like Bryan, we play the piano because he's really, really good at it. Yes, yeah. Or Dick and Liza are going to be passing offering baskets. So we help out at services. Elaney's in the kitchen doing coffee, right? And don't forget the compost, the holy compost. We say that we're going to come to services, which you all have done today. That you're going to go to your classes, which you'll do soon. But we also pledge money. Why do you think that is? Why do you think we pledge money? Max? This place would crumble to the ground. Tell me more, Max. No, he won't tell me more. Okay, crumble to the ground. Well, we have to pay our staff.
We do.
Right? We have to pay our staff. We have to keep the what? Oh, don't look up. Trust me, I just did. You have to keep the lights on, right? MG&E doesn't just give us a pass on that, right? Oh, yes. Yeah. We've got to keep the projector on, right? We need electricity. You need Thea. Okay, there you go. I think Thea just wrote the new theme for our pledge campaign. It's just going to be, we need enough money to do it.
Yeah, right on.
I think that's like the best thing I've ever heard. But okay, so Kelly and I have some things in this bag that we want to share with you. We're going to need your help. These represent things that we do together and things that we spend money on here. Let's see. Oh, what's he going for? Oh. Yeah, do you know what kind of book that is? So what does that represent? Singing together, our music program. Everybody wave to the choir.
Thank you, choir.
How many of you are in kids choir? Right? Yep,
right.
You're in kids choir. Okay, my turn.
Always open, always welcome.
Okay, how about this one? Pull this one off the top.
What does this represent?
Shawl ministry, yes.
All right.
This is a dedication blanket. This represents our shawl ministry program.
You got it.
Our shawl ministry, our lay ministry, your turn.
All right. Let me get.
Oh.
Okay. What about this?
T-shirts.
T-shirts. And any thoughts about what the T-shirt might represent?
Any adults know? What are these bright yellow T-shirts all about?
Social justice programs. Thank you, Ann. Yes.
There you go. That represents our social justice programs. Okay, ready? Okay, all the adults, what does this represent for you? Children, what does it represent for you? Hot chocolate. Okay, coffee and hot chocolate. Why do we really come here every week? Okay. All right, your turn.
All right. I gotta, just two things. We gotta staple
Squeeze that
together.
one.
All right. What about that?
Our worship services, right? Are coming together week after week. What? Huh? What is that? Who put stuff in this bag? Oh! Why is there a horse in this bag? CRE, yes, Cleo! You are now a multi-dimensional horse. So, CRE, exactly, maybe our child care room, right? But you know why else I put this in here? Was anybody here in the fall for Cabaret? What did we have at Cabaret this fall? Horses. We had a petting zoo and we had horses. So, we also need enough money for that. Exactly.
Sub-theme. Yep.
Thea is now the chair of the Stewardship Campaign. I'm going to connect you with Cheryl after service. It's brilliant. So this represents to me all the ways we come together in the community and have fun, like the petting zoo. Mark your calendars. June 11th, blessing of the animals. The petting zoo returns. All right. What did we forget? Is there anything we forgot that you'd put in the bag? June 11th. Whoa.
Okay.
Is there anything else about this community that you, grown-ups, is there anything that you would have put in this bag?
Days away from my birthday.
Something from the baby room?
Important.
Absolutely. Yeah. What would you put in the bag? You! Absolutely. You know, y'all are the best. We didn't even have to prompt you to say any of these things. If we could have, we would have figured out how to fit one of you into this bag, because really, supporting this community, whether it's through our time and our volunteering, or whether it's through our, we need the money to get it done, thank you, Thea, all of this is about you and about us and about the community we make when we come together, and our willingness to do what it takes to make sure the community is here for you, for all of us, and for everybody who comes after. So thank you for playing our What's in the Bag game, and we're now going to sing you out to class.
We shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth before you. There'll be shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands while you go out with joy.
And I invite you now into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to this offering, sustaining the work of our community here and supporting the work of our outreach offering recipient, who this week's offering will be shared with Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin, which provides affordable, quality, confidential health care to thousands of people each year in 24 health centers throughout Wisconsin. Planned Parenthood Wisconsin focuses on preventive care, including birth control, testing, and treatment for sexually transmitted infections and screenings for cancers, seeking to ensure all people have access to the care and the resources they need to make informed decisions about their bodies, their lives, and their futures. On a note particular to our community, among their numerous other services, Planned Parenthood has sent educators to speak with our Mind, Body, and Soul class every year for more than 15 years now, and we're very grateful for them. So there's multiple ways to share your gifts. Thanks to Dick and Liza for passing baskets here in the room. You'll see on the screen you can donate directly from our website, fusmadison.org, and you'll see the text to give information there as well. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we create together.
Thank you so much for that beautiful music. On a newsprint page from several years ago, 6-year-old Calvin is playing a board game with his best friend, an imaginary tiger named Hobbs. It's a game about real estate speculation, high finance, and the fickle hand of the market. A game about money, in other words. The odds have turned against young Calvin, and he is down on his luck and running out of the little pastel slips of paper that the game uses for currency. The imaginary tiger seems on the verge of winning until Calvin reaches into the till, the rack of spare bills used in the game, and begins to pocket them. It's just a tragic turn of events, he explains. Dire circumstances have forced him to rob the bank in their game of Monopoly. An argument about the rules ensues, and the social contract holding the game together unravels until Calvin and Hobbes begin stealing from and defrauding each other, and the board is finally upended. The comic is an exaggeration of the game. The game is a simplification of the world, but the kernel of truth remains. Money is a damnably powerful thing. Since I entered adulthood, I have lived through at least 3 major financial crises, with all the intermingled economic consequences of the pandemic that we are all still reeling from, only the most recent and most obvious example. We live in a world in which little pieces of paper, or the bits of digital information that hold the promise of them, can be exchanged for just about anything, for better or worse. It is also a world in which people get sick and go hungry, suffer the cold and the heat and the absence of opportunity, all for the want of those same scraps of paper. The brutal cuts in the national safety net now being contemplated in Washington will, if implemented, only make this more true. Money spent shapes where one lives and how one lives, the quality of one's health by many metrics, and more, the entire sphere of one's own experience. We live in an age in which some parents can and do spend money on coaching and tutoring to get their children into the most prestigious private preschools. In some parts of the world, the wealthy navigate their cities in helicopters rather than cars to avoid being exposed to the crime and poverty at street level. There are even companies now who will invest in your divorce if they believe that you are likely to walk away with a large cash settlement, which they will then be entitled to a cut of course. Hip-hop supergroup, the Wu-Tang Clan, have an acronym for this: CREAM. C-R-E-A-M. Cash rules everything around me. While Method Man, Raekwon, and Inspector Deck were speaking to a specific reality faced in poor urban communities of color, it describes a much larger predicament that all of us here are in. Money shapes so much of what we can and cannot do. It inserts itself into our most important relationships as a cause of conflict, envy, and resentment. No person and no institution can ignore it completely. I want to acknowledge that many of us, perhaps most of us, tend to get anxious when the subject of money gets raised. Some of us may be feeling that anxiety right now. I believe that discomfort to be a very natural reaction to having to face our own vulnerability. Because in confessing that cash really does rule everything, or nearly everything, around me, I am saying that I am at the mercy of a system for allocating resources, which is what an economy is, that has no particular care for my interest or my well-being. A system whose grace and compassion is not particularly greater than that offered to the players of the game of Monopoly by the rules thereto. But although it is scary to be vulnerable, and especially to admit our vulnerability to one another, there is great power in it as well. Because in such a world as this, the amazing thing is that people still find the courage and creativity to resist such a powerful force and to live their lives in the truth that profit is not the greatest good. To say, cash may rule everything around me, but it does not rule me. I determine what purpose sits on the throne of my heart. I can choose to serve something greater than dollars and cents. I believe that's what most people would say, in fact. Few folks other than Gordon Gekko want to think of money as being their highest good. To really follow that intention of a greater purpose requires living against the grain of the world. It means struggle, it means resistance, and anyone and everyone would falter if they tried to do that all by themselves. But one of the great examples of a person trying to do it all by themselves is also one of my favorite figures from the history of philosophy, Diogenes of Sinope. He was a contemporary of Plato, and it is said that sometimes he would heckle that man when he taught in the marketplace. Diogenes revolted against the materialism and the obsession with status bound up with wealth that defined the society he lived in ancient Greece. He was a resolute iconoclast, withering in his critiques of the rich and the powerful and just about everyone else around him. He was so staunch and uncompromising that he ended up living in a wine cask on the margins of Athenian society. It's said that once Alexander the Great came to see Diogenes as he was passing through town on his way to conquer the known world. Alexander could do that, by the way, because his country of Macedon was overflowing with gold. His father, Philip, had used that wealth to build one of the greatest armies in human history up to that time. So here comes Alexander, already the most powerful man in Greece and almost certainly the richest, on his way to march in one end of the Persian Empire and out the other side. The report is that he admired Diogenes for his willingness to live at odds with the prevailing values around him, and that he said to the philosopher, "If I were not Alexander, I would wish to be Diogenes." To which Diogenes replied, "If I were not Diogenes, I would also wish to be Diogenes." Yet for all his personal integrity and seemingly unfailing confidence in his own moral position, Diogenes authored no works and founded no school. He lived and died alone in the certainty of his rightness. Now, there is some solace and some comfort to be found in being right. I can report this to you firsthand from the 2 or 3 times in my life that I have been right. But the satisfaction of being right alone cannot compare to the support found in being a part of a community that holds common values in the face of an uncaring world, however much harder the work of it might be. When people find a meaning that they can share in, 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, 3 becomes 5, and 5, given the means and the opportunity to grow, becomes a community. A network of people connected to each other by and for their resistance to the prevailing culture and their determination to work to change it. That is what we are about as a congregation, sharing and practicing a set of values that sets us apart We exist not to damn the world, but to redeem it. For where falsehood persists, the quest for truth is its antidote. Where power determines the course of public affairs, justice should reign in its stead. Where cash rules now, love ought to prevail. And in fact, it can and does prevail, bit by bit. Sometimes without anyone's help, and sometimes only because of the work of the dedicated and the determined. Each year, at roughly this time, the members of our congregation and many of its friends are called upon to decide how we will support the financial needs of our spiritual community in the year ahead. To strike our balance between the real and powerful force that reigns out there and the hope and possibility of the force which reigns in here. It's a question that I face just as you and your household do. And while I cannot tell you what your answer should be, I can tell you what mine is. I believe in the work that this congregation does, in Madison and inside of these walls, and most especially inside of myself. I also believe in what this congregation can become, in the work that we are doing together to set a shared vision and to live it out. So I am committed to the present and the future growth of First Unitarian Society. Growth in our sense of community and connection, growth in the solace and sustenance we offer, and above all, growth in the love we experience and put into action together. It's difficult to put a number on what this congregation gives to me and what I want to give back. My resources are finite, as all of ours are. But when I sat down to decide what to contribute to the continued existence of this community, not just as one of its ministers, but as one of its members, with a share in what its history has been and what its legacy will be, I did come up with a number that reflects what rules my heart. This year, I am pledging 5% of my income to the support of this society. Our congregation calls us out of comfort, habit, and despair, and into hope, loving kindness, and the hard work of justice. That is what we want for ourselves and for our children, and that is what we want for our world. So I invite us, and I challenge us, that the pledges we each make to support the congregation be a real piece of our livelihood, an amount that really matters for us, because this place really matters to us. Your mileage can and will vary. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe that our lives are made up of our choices. More than what we profess, what we choose to do defines and shapes what is true for us. So as you make your decision, I implore you to make it based on the purpose that you wish to rule your heart. Let me close here with a story from the Buddhist tradition. It is said that once, after he had attained enlightenment and begun his public teaching, the Buddha ascended to heaven for a time. He did so in order to visit his mother, who had died some time before, and to thank her for her kindness to him. He also went to teach his wisdom and insights to the gods themselves, And according to the story, they became his devoted students. When the word went out that he would return to earth in a particular place, in a particular city, countless of his adherents gathered there. Among them were people of all sorts, including many nobles and persons of great privilege and wealth. With their many retainers, they occupied the whole area where the Buddha was destined to alight for a great distance around. So it was certain that when he did return, only the wealthiest would be able to greet him first. But there was a certain woman named Upalavana who was neither noble nor rich. She was only one of the most devoted followers of the way the Buddha taught. She had renounced material possessions and lived a humble monastic existence. And she had sworn that she would be the first to greet the teacher upon his return. On that day, again, this is just what the story says, the Buddha descended from heaven, climbing down a ladder made out of jewels. And the people of great standing and power pressed in tighter and tighter at the base so that they might be the first mortal being he would see and address. Then Upalavana stood up at the back of the crowd. She began walking forward. As she walked, her visage changed. The shaved head and modest, unassuming clothes melted away and were replaced by the countenance of the Chakravarti, the universal sovereign. The clothes on her body now appeared more regal and more valuable than any others on the earth. A retinue of guards and servants erupted around her, spreading out in every direction, parting the way before her so that she didn't even have to break her stride to pass through the crowd. She went to the place at the base of the ladder. She reached there just as the Buddha's first foot stepped off of the last rung and hit the ground. Their eyes met. And in that instant, she returned to her true self, the self that she had always been. The illusion faded away. There she stood in her humble form once again and greeted him. And he greeted her in return. The true value of things or of people cannot be deduced from the cash value of things or of people. But in a world where so much of what is possible is determined by dollars and cents, how much we put towards the things that matter to us matters a great deal. And how much we trust in each other by sharing with each other determines much of what we can accomplish together.
I love and love.
During this season, it is our custom to hear messages from members of this community about why this place is so important to them and why they support it with their wealth and resources. Here to offer one such testimonial is Bev Dussel.
Thank you, sir. This is all to prove that one should never follow a great gang of kids and the two Kellys, but I'll do my best. I'd like to talk to you about certain gifts, all those we knew we wanted or never wanted and never thought we needed. I'd like to tell you about when I was a young agency leader. At a conference, I met a Lakota Indian chief. He talked about something called a scotoma, a blind spot. His major premise was that we all have blind spots and need to know what they are, excluding, of course, my mother who had eyes in the back of her head, but, you know. What I began to realize then, and I know now, is that my wonderful leadership team always bound together and protected me from my blind spots. Thank you. And then in like fashion, did the same for each other. This is an example of just one kind of gift that's part of what we're working on when we work as a whole team and what a whole team can give you and for the results you're trying to receive together. What an incredibly important message I got from that wonderful team for the rest of my career. Then there's the time that my son and daughter ended up in the same calculus class in high school. I think I sent that teacher flowers quarterly. I mean, yes, a little embarrassing, but think of what she and the rest of her faculty colleagues gave my kids that I apparently didn't or couldn't. Note, yes, they both passed, made it through college, they've got jobs, it's all good. And I ask you, how many people in the community have done the same things as she did and they did to Kathy and Jeff, or your kids? The things that shaped what we consider their fairly extraordinary success today, and it couldn't be attributed to us. Then, of course, there's the exciting example of rehearsing choir on Zoom. Yes, well, that was followed by, now let's progress to let's everybody do it in a mask, right? Apparently, you have to pronounce your words really well through a mask, and you have to learn how to do it. And of course, if you practice it, you get better and better over time, or so Drew keeps telling us. And of course, then there's the sitting one person apart deal. See over there, the way they're all yes. Well, through some research Drew did, we learned it makes the sound even better when we perform. These are real gifts. And I would add, apparently there's another gift in the process of being given. It's how we all perform without ever rehearsing. Why? Well, Thursday night, Wisconsin, rain, sleet, snow, and ice. You know how it works. But perform, yes. Thanks to Drew's Zoom, recorded parts, and a full concert performance on YouTube, which we also learned how to do. Then there's that odd gift that we receive when we have an opportunity to see something that might need to be done. No one has assigned it to us, but oddly, you have all the talent it takes to make it happen. And best of all, you like that sort of thing. So you go ahead and do it. And then you overhear someone say, as I have, wow, this is neat, or who brought the lemon bars? Or maybe, I'm glad that was fixed. The warmth of having succeeded in making the work easier or somebody else happy or successful, you all know what that means and how that feels. So I would offer you these stories to show the unexpected and real gifts of being in a community of giving and sharing and protecting, and how it all comes back to you and me. None of these were gifts I asked for. All of them have made my days and years, and I hope my singing even better as a result. And this community here didn't know what we didn't know what we wanted, but we got it, and we're thrilled to learn and have all of this enrich our lives. Now, I can't leave here today without telling you I spent my entire career in nonprofits. That's fundraising and fundraising, as you know. So I ask you to think about the whole measure of all the things that were done by the folks that came before us. Those who have given in order to assure that we have this remarkable, changing, innovative, and really growing FUS today. For ourselves and our kids and our community, and for sometimes our daily needs, and certainly for profound learning. All that we may never otherwise have been given again, but we have experienced. I ask you to think really hard about the ways that you can participate in paying it forward. Can you see if there are things for which you might have the perfect talent, and even though no one has asked, you offer? You know, all that stuff you like to do anyway? True, some part of this is financial, and we hope that you will help sustain and maybe more importantly, advance what we can do in the future. Can we respond now as others did for us before? Join us. There's a lot of ways to do it, and it'd be great fun to have you participate in those ways, including in our future financial well-being. Thank you for all you have done and have given, and for the extraordinary giving of your special gifts and your support in the future. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you so much, Bev. Each week, we gather and we bring with us the losses, the pains, and the celebrations of our recent days. We share them here, knowing they are held in support and in love. This morning, we light a candle for our world, for all those places known and unknown to us, filled with struggle, despair, pain. This candle is for the people of Ukraine, who yearn for peace and freedom. It is for the people of Turkey and Syria living with a loss greater than our imagining. And it is for all those places, the names, the faces unknown to us, who are in need of these things as well: peace and safety and freedom and a healing love. If you'll join me in a moment of prayer with these words from Tanya Cothran. Holy One, known by many names, by no names, and by the quiet understanding of our hearts. Teach us to consider how others experience the world, to understand how our reality and their reality are different, and yet they share qualities of the same core desires. Teach us to listen for shared feelings, for places of connection. Teach us to be curious and open to hearing differences. Teach us to love into brokenness, to give space for, to be patient with healing. Let us be strong in our vulnerability, in our not knowing, in exposing our less than perfect, scary bits to those in front of us. Give us courage to face judgment, scorn, and hatred because of the greater good. Let us be disciples of essential goodness, strong in our knowing that in each being there is a divine light of the soul. Give us the strength to keep feeling empathy, even when we ourselves are tired and broken. For it is then that you are building a world through us. Blessed be, and amen.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding 72, Thanks Be for These.
May this be a place where our hearts will grow, where we will remember our covenant to one another when times are hard. May it remind us, call us to a new way of being with one another and a new way of being in the world. May we not shy from conflict, but be able to work through things together respectfully and in the spirit of love. Blessed be, go in peace. Please be seated for the postlude.
Yay, that was fun.
Very nice flourish at the end. I like it.
Like at various times, ooh, I should throw in a twist. And then when it happened, yeah. I know, but like when I'm driving in the car, I'm like, ooh, that should have a twist.
Cool. Well, thanks. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
In and out. Sound good?
Oh, and you know, the society choir always brings a little snacks. So
Okay.
please join us in the choir to eat the snackification of it all. What do you think?
I love that piece. That's so good.
It was Linda's choice. Yeah.
Oh,
really enjoyed playing it.
well, I've been telling people this morning that I sent him the recording of the Chieftains playing it, the Irish band,
Yeah.
and I said, oh, we'll do it just like that.
Do they have harp and piano?
No, they have like 10 ultra, the best Irish players in the world, fiddles and bells and I mean, yeah. But we pulled it off. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it sounded amazing. A lot of fun.
Yeah, you're Logan. Okay.
I am Logan, yes.
Yeah.
You are Bryan.
Solo was like cut through perfectly.
Oh, thank you.
I could hear every word.
Good.
It was really cool. Yeah.
Good.
You did a
Tough
good
with the
job.
master.
Yeah. Very impressed.
I like it. I'm looking forward to hearing that again.
Yeah. Sounds good.
But that before Ray was still